Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. It's been a big week for us. We have actually legalized marijuana in our hometown here in Portland, Oregon. Thanks for everybody who worked and voted for Measure 91 and for marijuana legalization all these years and global cannabis freedom. They won in Alaska as well, and in Washington, D.C. They got full marijuana legalization in each of those three. The island of Guam has implemented or passed a law for medical marijuana. Florida, they got 58.5% of the vote, but they needed 60% to win there. So they didn't quite push it over the goal line, but they sure got a high vote in favor of medical marijuana in Florida as well. So we'll be talking more about that. Standing by in the wings is Mr. John Cornett, ready to play some music. Hi, John.
Hey, Paul. Happy Hemp Friday.
Yeah, and Mr. Casper Leach. Hey, Casper.
And I'm Hi, Paul.
And we will be taking your phone calls, answering questions, talking about this momentous week just in a few moments after we bring on our dancing Cannabis Leaves.
I feel the force.
Hey, there's Casper. Okay, we don't have a regular hemp newscast tonight. We'll be talking about the incredible votes that have brought us toward marijuana legalization. But first, we're going to bring on Mr. John Cornett. You ready to play some music, John?
Yes, I am, Paul, and this is a song I wrote last year, anticipating that we would be on this train. And we are on this train, and it's a-coming. There's a train coming, and she's already on the track. People changing, and for some there's no going back. Cannabis is more than just a weed. Cannabis is the tree of life to me. People talking, this prohibition has to stop. Children dying while we legislate the crop. Cannabis is more than just a weed. Cannabis is the tree of life to me. Woo-hoo.
Cornett. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
We'll be back to closing of the show. Hey, Casper. You know, we've both been working at this for more than 25 years. And, 2 years ago we saw Washington and Colorado cross the finish line and start to vote to legalize marijuana. Now we've seen 2 more states, Alaska and Oregon. Here
We have.
our
I
home.
remember sitting in Venice Beach office with Jack Hare, and we would catch a buzz in between working really hard and getting the shirts mailed out and the books mailed out and all the things that go with getting his message out. And he would say, Casper, wouldn't it be great if you could just someday just walk into a store someplace and just say, I'd like to have, some of that, and then they put it in front of you and weigh it out, and then you pay them a few dollars, and then you can put it into your pipe right there and fire it up. And I said, that's going to be a Cheech and Chong movie. And he said, no, that's going to be the future. It's a long ways down the road. I might not live to see it, but I hope I do. But it's coming, Casper. We've got the truth, and the truth always conquers lies.
Today I was up in the Tacoma, Seattle area, and I passed by a recreational cannabis store, and there was a guy out there spinning an arrow and a sign saying recreational over 21 cannabis right over here, and so I going, wow, that's, not the kind of promotion I was
Right.
anticipating. The guy standing out there like they do for the mattress companies or some other businesses, you might see those people standing on the street corners.
And back then, it was hard to be heard. Jack really...
So you're talking about 25 years ago.
Yeah, and Jack really worked hard to be heard. And he was serious when he said we had the truth. It wasn't just about the smoking of it, but the paper, the fiber, the fuel. And finally, people like Hugh Downs began to call Jack's office. I spoke to Hugh Downs. He wasn't calling for me. He was calling for Jack. And
for those of you who can remember who
Hugh Downs
is.
was. He was on the 2020 TV show with Barbara Walters. And he was one of the first commentaries on the national news to do a commentary about legalizing hemp and about Jack Hare and Jack Hare's book, which led to other programs like 60 Minutes doing a program on the Rickert family and John Stossel doing a program on Jack and the marijuana movement. And over a period of time, it was Jack Hare first being heard about paper, fiber, and fuel. Yes, there was Keith Strop talking about how important it is to get high and not get arrested. And yes, there was other people who were talking about how horrible it was to put people behind bars because they were stoners. Jack Hare was talking about how wrong it was to keep farmers from having a cash crop that would produce 50,000 products and jobs.
Speaking
and a
of
good
which,
tax base.
Here it is. Hemp freedom is hemp fuel, and this is hemp seed oil with a little bit of hemp twine, and hopefully we'll start being able to fill up our diesel engines with that stuff and converting it to gasoline.
Forgive me for going on like that, but yes, I remember when the dreams first came into somebody's heads, and with the hard work of 25 years, the people here in Oregon and the people across the United States have made those dreams come true.
I first moved here in 1984,
Wow.
which is a full over 30 years ago now, to help with the Oregon Marijuana Initiative, and we put it on up for a vote in 1985 with the help of Jack and a few others. I'd met Jack in 82, and both he and I moved here in 84 and helped put that on the ballot in 85 for a vote in 86. But that is still the earliest any initiative made the ballot, but we only got 26% of the vote
Right.
back then in 1986, in 1986's ballot measure 5. So this was actually the third marijuana vote for full legalization. In 1985, it was to allow anyone over the age of 18 to possess and grow marijuana. Of course, we voted on measure 80 in 2012, and now measure 91 has crossed the finish line. I understand it's over 56% of the vote right now. Means it got a larger percentage of the vote than Colorado or Washington did.
Or any politician.
Or any politician. And here in Multnomah County, thank you very much, Multnomah County residents, 71.2% right now with 95% of the vote counted. So we are taking your questions and phone calls tonight. If you have a question for us or a comment, you can call us at 503-288-4442. That's 503-288-4442. We'll be taking your calls about the end of marijuana prohibition here in Oregon, soon to be the rest of the world, and industrial hemp and helping medical marijuana patients. So if you want to address any of those issues, call us at that number there on your screen.
Well, I know Eric Holder's got to be excited about this. He can now start smoking out with us.
Okay.
Oh, and you should give him
he's nominated a new attorney general. The nomination just came out this
Cool.
evening. A lady who's a U.S. attorney in New York, in the Bronx, New York.
You should let him know that you'll consider his resume. He's job hunting.
Okay. I don't know. He's still in office now, but we'll see how that goes. We have a caller. Welcome to the show, caller.
Is that me?
That's you.
Hey, Paul, long-time caller, long-time watcher.
Thank you.
Actually, a couple Sundays ago, I called in and was like, it's about time we got this going, so I'm really glad to see things passed, and it's damn about time. Anyways, my question is what are the stipulations now for things like, I probably know the answer to the federal parks part, but like schools, like community colleges and things like that. And with that, I'll let you go. Thank you.
Okay. Under federal law, it's still illegal. So don't go to a federal park or a federal building with cannabis. You could be subject to federal arrest. That doesn't count things like the airport, which are under control of the Port of Portland, which is a state agency, and state law is enforced. But this law says you cannot use it in public, so it has to be done in private. For instance, your back porch is definitely a legal spot, but your front porch might not be. So you have to use it in private. You can only use it when you're over the age of 21. The law in Section 84 says it goes into effect on December 5th. However, other parts of the law say it goes into effect in July. So there's some confusion over exactly when it goes into effect, but I think we can see an end to marijuana possession enforcement for possession away from the home of an ounce or less, and in the home you can grow 4 plants and have 8 ounces. But as I said, part of the law says it goes into effect December 5th. Other parts of the law say it goes into effect in July. So there's some debate among people I know about when it exactly goes into effect, but that's the situation. Again, though, it's only in a private location. So there's a tax involved with this. It'll be applied to the production. So whoever grows it and sells it has to apply that $35 an ounce tax on flowers or $10 an ounce tax on shake, just like it said in the ballot. But we're very happy. I want to thank all the voters out there. Thank a lot of people, including Anthony Johnson, Travis Maurer, all the folks at New Approach Oregon, of course the Drug Policy Alliance, the family of Peter Lewis, and all of you folks out there that petitioned and worked on this so hard. The 7,000 people who donated money to our campaign, I'd like to thank you, and the patients who continue to obtain medical marijuana. That's still going forward, and medical marijuana laws remain unaffected. And thank Willie Nelson too. Willie definitely supported us here and cut a couple of ads, and he just played last night in the White House and talked about how marijuana is now legal in Obama's backyard.
Yeah, so, when he got behind Gateway Galbraith, he jumped on Jack Hare's book and promoted Jack's book wherever you went.
Yeah,
he made it a point to come on to my show. He's helped you with your programming. Willie's gone to help at High Times Magazine and Normal. He's done everything that he can do.
The world's most famous marijuana advocate, I think. We can all agree on that.
Which reminds me, are we going to be able to grow hemp now for paper, fiber, and fuel?
There's some parts of the law affect that, but more will be disclosed as we move forward. Here's some hemp fiber right here. We have another phone caller, though. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller.
Hello, Paul Stanford and Casper Leach. This is your good friend Ray Crystal calling from home.
Howdy, Ray.
Listen, Paul and Casper, I want to congratulate you on the great victory on Tuesday. And Paul, you are so much, along with your wife Teresa, along with your company, and of course Bill and Red, so much a part of that victory on Tuesday. To me, a huge percentage. And unfortunately, I didn't hear your name mentioned up on stage and everything. I couldn't go to the party, but I did.
I was
follow
invited.
It on the radio.
I was busy, as you know. I took you medicine that night as one of our patients. So I was invited, and I thank them for inviting me. I already was kind of busy that night, though.
Things from the house and everybody their winter
Just happy to
allotment
deliver
of
a pound and a half of free buds to you as one of our patients. I know you're fighting cancer, and I know you need it. Took a pound and a half over to Casper here as well on election night.
Done for everybody, and also many people you've helped, Paul. We just love you so much for it, and we praise you for it and everything you're doing. The 16 years of your show. Come on.
Okay.
You take a little bow here, brother. You are really the man who deserves it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. We did the first Cannabis Common Sense show back in October of 1996, so we're a little ways past our 18-year mark now.
18 years. So
And I'm going into my 5th year as the joint host.
Hey, all right.
Can't believe I've been here that long.
Your company is one of the greatest One Love sensations, and why anybody would think that you're some kind of capitalist that doesn't care about the people. It's absurd.
I don't know who thinks that, but they don't talk to me.
Thousands.
Well, thank you, Ray. Thanks for calling. Thanks
you.
for the
Thank you
accolades.
so much.
I appreciate that. Good night. If you have a question or comment tonight, just give us a call at 503-288-4442. We have a couple callers standing by. Welcome to the show, caller.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. I've got a couple questions.
Go right ahead.
Okay. Because now my wife has a medical marijuana card,
Uh-huh.
and she can grow 6 plants.
Yeah, and 18 babies.
Yeah. So now, when the new law comes in effect, I don't have a medical marijuana card? Could I grow 4 myself?
Yes.
Oh. Okay. That's what I wanted to know. On the second question, my wife just got a letter from to renew her license.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and it has something that her doctor has to sign.
Yes.
But we went to one of your doctors. So who do we go?
So just give us a call at 503-281-5100, and we'll be happy to have you. You know, the doctor has to see you every year, so you got to come in and see him and get that document signed. But just call the office to renew if we haven't called you already.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, and thanks for allowing us to assist you in that regard.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
All right. So there's a lot of people who have medical marijuana cards in the state of Oregon. And they pay the state of Oregon, what, $200 and some odd dollars?
Yeah.
For a license to be a medical marijuana patient. And then that gives them the chance to grow what they want, right? Like 18 plants, little babies, and 4 biggies.
24 plants altogether, and they can have 6 of them that are not limited in size.
Right.
And have 24 ounces. And they can have another 18 plants for a total of 24. Those other 18, though, have to be smaller than a foot tall or a foot wide.
My question is, why bother to pay the state the license fee? Why, as a grower now, I mean, you can't use recreational. Can't you just grow your own and just take care of your own medical needs and be done with it?
Yes, you can grow your own. However, the law does not. They won't open stores until at least 12 to 15 months from now. So the only place, if you want to go to a store and buy it, is with a medical card in those dispensaries that have popped up all over Portland and continue to pop up around the state.
All right, but then once they get those other recreational stores open, that pretty much...
I think it'll change the whole dynamic. Hopefully marijuana will be mainstreamed. You know, marijuana should be cheap and plentiful. It grows on trees, you know, big hardy stems like this attest to that. And so the price of it's going to come down. And Right now, a $35 an ounce tax seems low, but as production costs drop to less than half of that, that tax will be a pretty big burden. It's still a lot lower than the tax in Washington or Colorado. So the law will continue to develop. We found that up in Washington state, most of the patients decide to keep their medical marijuana permits as well because the taxes are so onerous up there.
Oh, okay. Well, that was my question because it sounded to me like once the recreational comes along, you might as well just shut down all the medical marijuana outlets.
Well, no, there's going to be a lot of people who don't want to go to, a lot of sick patients that don't want to go through a recreational
Facility.
adult social store. They want to be treated for their illness, and they'll have to have some expertise on that. Let's see, we have another caller standing by on the telephone and someone here in the studio. Let's take that telephone caller first. Go right ahead, caller.
Hi. I was just wondering, now that it's going to be legal to smoke marijuana, if I smoke in my home and then the next day I drive and I get pulled over, how are they going to know if I'm driving under the influence or not?
You know,
because doesn't it stay in your system?
You know, the law that passed, Measure 91, did not change the driving under the influence laws. So you have to be impaired to be convicted of driving under the influence. So really the only real way to do that now is with a blood test. And a blood test shows active THC. Urinalysis testing doesn't show that. You know, this is a good time to point out that all urinalysis testing, even for someone who has never smoked marijuana, will still come back positive with some reading for positive for THC. So the positive level only goes, they don't consider you have used marijuana until it goes above 25 nanograms. The fact that everybody has a base level of THC metabolites in their urine because your body, your neurosystem, produces an endogenous THC-like compound that's been called anandamide. It's been named anandamide. And so everyone has some THC metabolites in their urine because our body naturally produces that. So urinalysis testing does not indicate impairment because it just merely shows that you've used cannabis recently. If you have over that 25 nanograms, then it shows that you probably consumed cannabis sometime in the past. But there isn't a law against consuming cannabis sometimes in the past now. The law is actually against driving under the influence. And so the only way to really determine that is with a blood test. Up in Washington, they set a very low level of active THC in the blood that was below the level of impairment. So Oregon didn't repeat that mistake. So for them to prove that, they would probably give you some kind of roadside sobriety test, and if they thought that you had been using cannabis, they would try to go and have your blood drawn so they can do lab work on it.
Right. So I should probably, if that should happen, I should request a blood test then, because that would prove I didn't do it that day or while I was driving.
That's right. And you know, I'm not any fan of going and having my blood drawn, but if they are accusing you of being under the influence of cannabis, they might ask you or demand that you go in for that type of blood test.
Right. Okay. Well, that answers my question. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And can't you refuse the blood test?
Yeah, but it's just like a breath test. I know if you refuse a breath test, you automatically get a driver's license suspension. I'm not sure how it works with a blood test. You know, you can get diseases when they penetrate your skin and your blood. So.
And they own your DNA at that point.
Yeah, they I don't know about own, but they definitely would be able to run that. We have a studio audience member. Go right ahead, Judy.
Hey guys, congratulations, big congratulations.
Thank you.
And an enormous thank you. There's just no way to say enough thanks.
Hey, I'm proud to have helped.
Yeah,
I went to about 20 different meetings in the drafting of Measure 91, and most of them were between Schwabe, Williamson, and Wyatt. and a local law firm, and the ACLU of Oregon. A lot of those meetings were held in those locations. And so, but basically the driver behind that was the Drug Policy Alliance. But they basically, took as the model Oregon's liquor control system and tried to copy those laws and adjust them to fit into regulating marijuana.
We realize this may not be ideal, but we're here.
Yeah.
And thinking about the on the medical side of what's to come, particularly not exclusive of the social, but since I'm a medical patient and that's my primary concern, in the future, once we're legalized, anyone can grow 4 plants, right? But if
and have 8 ounces at the home,
yeah,
and 1
but
ounce
if you
away
continue
from
to be, if you pay your fee and continue to be a legal medical patient, you can still grow your 6 and have the quantities that the medical part of the law differentiates. Is that not correct?
Yeah.
Yes,
The medical program does not change with the passage of Measure 91. You're still able to get that permit on an annual basis and grow a total of 24 plants. 6 of those, of course, are not limited in size. 18 of them can't be taller or wider than 1 foot.
With regards to then the concentrates, the oils, and the most concentrated medicines, I know as it stands now, we haven't got much, discussion on that within the medical marijuana laws.
If you are at a grow site, a medical marijuana grow site, then you can legally produce extracts and concentrates there. If you want to produce it in a larger quantity, you'd be able to get a producer license from the OLCC, the Oregon Liquor Control Commission, when they start issuing those licenses in 2016.
On the social side, since the medical side isn't going to change, does the law spell out quantities of the concentrates that a person can legally possess?
Yes, it does. It says the amount of legal foods you can have, and the amount of cannabis-infused liquids as well. I'm not going to try to quote those exactly off the top of my head, but yes, the law explicitly says how much concentrates, how much marijuana-infused food, and how much marijuana-infused beverages you can legally possess under this law. So we'll talk more about that in the future. Maybe I'll look it up during a little break. We have one other question from somebody here in the audience. Go right ahead, Gary.
What is the, Measure 80 did not pass, but Measure 91 did. So what are the same, what are the regulations the same in both issues?
No, there are some differences. The laws are much like the Oregon alcohol laws. So now when this goes into effect, then it's legal to grow 4 plants and possess 8 ounces for anyone over the age of 21.
So is this law better than 80 was, or?
Well, let's not get into debating the.
I'm sorry.
I was partial to Measure 80. It actually didn't say. It said that you could possess an amount that you were producing for personal use, but it didn't actually set a limit on what those laws were. We had proposed making it like Oregon's medical marijuana law, but the law that's passed now says that you can grow 4 plants and have 8 ounces at home and leave your home with 1 ounce of marijuana.
And how much are you allowed to carry on you?
1 ounce.
1 ounce.
1 ounce. We've got a baby in the house. You can probably hear that out there. We have another phone call. Go right ahead, caller. Hello, caller.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Yeah, I had a question.
All right. Hopefully we can help you with that. Go right ahead. Oh, they're gone. Okay. We have a little film clip we're going to run now. A couple of news clips from election night here in Oregon. Let's relive the joy. Here it is.
we're going to check in with the campaign here, but first let's look at the numbers. Oregon measure 91 yes, 63% no, 37%. However, as you look at these numbers, it's important to note that Tim Hibbetts has not called this race yet. So, we can check in with him a little bit later, but probably has to do with where these votes are coming in. He's not confident enough to say that, yes, this has passed yet. But I'm wondering what the reaction is right now from the Yes campaign. Kelsey Watts is there to tell us what they're thinking. Kelsey?
Of the Yes on 91 campaign party are just starting to come in here for their official election night party here in Southeast Portland, and we're told that as soon as we get some more results on this measure, one of the main people behind this measure, Chief Petitioner Anthony Johnson, will be making some comments. But you might have heard our own election analyst Tom Hibbetts say earlier tonight, this one will come down to voter turnout, and especially whether young people turn out tonight. Now, Oregon shot down a similar measure 2 years ago. Back in 2012, it failed by a margin of 53 to 47%. And as you just heard with these first results tonight, this one still too close to call. If it does pass here in Oregon, it would still take some time to implement.
For me, I think it's about freedom. I think it's about independence. It's about, I've been a big fan of the plant. I've used it myself for many years, and I've graduated college, and I've been successful on my jobs, and I'm a filmmaker now.
All right, that was Kelsey Watts reporting from the Yes campaign. She said a lot of people still trickling in there.
This is a big ballot measure, you guys. This is measure 90. Marijuana in Oregon. Tim Hibbetts is ready to make a call on this one.
Yes, we believe it's going to pass. It's going to not be a landslide, but all you got to do is get 50% plus one. And the reason, Ben, is it's rolling up a massive margin as expected in Multnomah County, but it is also passing in Washington County, passing in Jackson County, and passing in Lane County. These are most of the larger counties in the state, and it's going to pile up such a margin in those counties that even if some of the smaller, more rural conservative counties vote no, I don't believe they'll have the votes to overcome that lead.
Okay, or Tim Hibbetts calling in favor of recreational marijuana. That will pass.
Welcome back to our coverage here on PDX TV as we're watching the votes come in here this election night. And we want to check in with one of the big measures that people were really interested in how this would turn out. And we have called this one, Tim Hibbetts, our Fox 12 analyst, says Oregon Measure 91, recreational marijuana, will pass. Right now, the supporters are having kind of a meeting. One of the speakers is at the podium. Let's go and listen to that now.
Misinformation and outright lies. And we won this election tonight due to many people in this room, many people across the state, many people across the country, many people that are no longer with us. And Jim Gregg, for one, a longtime activist. Jim Clark is in a hospital right now waiting a new liver. What'd you say? Jack Herrera, long list of activists who, over the years, have worked hard and dedicated their lives to stop a harmful and just painful discriminatory policy that disproportionately hurts people of color and people of low income. Volunteers over the years have gathered thousands upon thousands of signatures. They've made thousands upon thousands of phone calls. They've knocked upon thousands of doors.
So let's check in with our political analyst, Tim Hibbetts. Tim, I know that polls showed that this was going to be a close one.
Yes, it's going to pass by a comfortable margin, not an overwhelming margin, but clearly a solid margin. And again, it's going to be driven by a very large vote out of Multnomah County. It's going to pass in Washington County. It's going to pass in Jackson County. It's going to pass in Lane County. And it's going to break even in Clackamas County. You take all of those large counties together, and that is enough votes to get it over the top.
Right now it is at 56%. According to the Oregon Secretary of State's website, there's still 5% of the votes left to count. But that's not enough to change the outcome. So we won. Hooray. There's the Oregon Secretary of State's website right there. So you can see the breakdown of the vote in the counties that were won. And here in Multnomah County, where Portland, Oregon is, where we produce this TV show for 18 years now, we got over 71% of the vote. Thank you, Multnomah County voters. We have someone standing by on the telephone. Welcome to the show, caller. Hello, caller. Okay, not that line.
Hello.
Hello.
How you doing?
Pretty well. How are you?
Just happy it finally passed.
Me
Yeah,
too.
I got a question about this law.
All right.
What's it going to do with companies like I just retired from that do random UAs and suspend or fire employees for failing?
You know, it did not change Oregon's employment law, so it's still up to the employer to determine whether you can test positive away from the job for cannabis use. So it didn't change any of those laws, and so it's something that you'd have to question your employer about. The law, technically, according to Section 84, doesn't go into effect until December 5th. There are other parts of the law that go into effect in July next year, and then the Oregon Liquor Control System has to start issuing licenses for legal adult marijuana stores by January of 2016. But when it comes to employment testing, it's up to the employer to make those changes. This law did not demand employers make those changes.
So like you just brought up, if you fail a urine test, it does not say you're under the influence, and the employer is treating you like you're under the influence.
Well, hopefully those things will change as the science becomes clear. There's no longer that illegality issue to deal with drug testing. As long as you're now legal to use marijuana away from the job, you know, I think most of the studies show that marijuana users are better employees, have less absenteeism, do better at job performance. So I think that will come out eventually in the science, and employers, instead of turning away people who test positive for marijuana, will be welcoming them to improve their workforce.
Yeah, I've often found that when I've smoked marijuana, I can put up with a jerk a lot better than when I've not smoked it. So management teams should be aware of that.
Should the federal laws be part of the problem?
Yeah.
With the employer bull?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, right now it sounds like the employees are still kind of screwed about the legalization.
Well, you know, we'll just have to see how everything shakes out. It's a whole new world now. It's the end of marijuana prohibition here in Oregon for sure. Across the river in Washington, up in Alaska, and quite ironically, in Washington, D.C. itself. It's now legal for President Obama to go out on the rose garden and smoke some herb if he wanted to, or you or I if we had legal access.
He probably doesn't inhale.
Yeah. Well, he definitely said he did. In fact, while he was running for president, he said, of course he inhaled. That was the point.
Right.
You know, there was, he had a group at his rather exclusive private high school in Hawaii, Punahou School, called the Choom Gang, where they would, and that was a group of people who would smoke marijuana, and I've heard stories that he would jump in line if somebody stalled and intercept the joint and take extra. But he says he stopped smoking at about the age of 20. But he's still a tobacco smoker, even though he doesn't like to be filmed smoking tobacco. He's acknowledged to be a tobacco smoker. What?
He was only smoking 2 cigarettes a day, according to him.
Okay. All right. Well, that's pretty light use.
Well, I've only smoked 1 joint. I lit it when I was 16, and I'm still puffing on it.
There you go. All right. Thanks for the info.
Hey, we're glad to provide it. Thanks for your call. Thanks for watching. We are down to about a little less than 20 minutes left. If you have a question or comment for us tonight, call us at 503-288-4442.
Give me your phone. I'll call in. I got a question.
Go right ahead.
I would be, had I been arrested for selling marijuana, buying marijuana, smoking marijuana, just that, not holding anybody up, not beating anybody up, and I'm sitting in a jail here in Oregon, and this law is now passed. Medical marijuana is a groovy thing. Recreational marijuana is a groovy thing. I would be furious, and I would want out now. What are we going to do for those people?
you know, they will have to go through their regular sentence. This law did not grant amnesty or clear the record of those people. You know, this law was a big step forward, but there's still a lot of work to do. You know, you go across Idaho, you're still a felon. If you have too much marijuana, it's still against the law. We need to continue to improve this law, but first it's got to be fully implemented. So, you know, if you're in Malaysia, for the amount of marijuana I gave you on election night, Casper, you and I could both be hung for that amount of marijuana. They actually hang you for anything over 200 grams of marijuana in Malaysia. That's one country that I'm going to start organizing a boycott of. But we've got to continue to work with the Oregon legislature, work with our representatives, or even better, I urge you out there, if you want to really get involved, to run for office and take over the system and help create laws. That's one good way to do it. And so there's still a lot of work to do.
Well, and you brought over enough where I had to get 3 friends and a midget to help me carry it all in.
It wasn't that much, 1.5 pounds. I mean, you must have really...
So who's going to start making this change for the POWs? Is it a bunch of lawyers who get together and write something up? Is it somebody who petitions the governor? Is it an initiative it's going to take,
you and
or
me,
what?
brother. It's you and me.
How do we get
gotta
these people
out? We've got to continue to work for global cannabis freedom, not just what we have, but to represent what this really does. You know, marijuana is not a bad thing. We need to tell people that marijuana is a good thing, that marijuana is a benefit. Marijuana helps you live longer. Marijuana makes your life better. It's for a lot of people, that's the truth. And there's nothing to be ashamed of about being a cannabis user. In fact, we can be proud. You know, I remember when I first heard, you mentioned our friend, the late, great Jack Herer, a little bit earlier. When I first heard him saying, marijuana will make you live 2 years longer, I thought that was crazy. But in fact, it's true. Marijuana increases longevity. Marijuana helps your body achieve balance, homeostasis. So it stops osteoporosis. It stops Alzheimer's. It stops neurodegenerative diseases. It lowers stress. It lowers calcification and atherosclerosis. So it has a lot of benefits, and we need to educate people about that. It's not like when you use too much alcohol and you go out and you do things you don't even know what you're doing. I think half the people in prison are there for things they did when they were blacked out on alcohol. Well, that's not true with marijuana. You know, I've talked to many police, and they were encouraging us to legalize marijuana because they never went on a domestic violence call because of marijuana. They never went to someone who was stealing and robbing people because they needed their marijuana. And so the police in our town, outside of some of the executives, have been very, very supportive. So,
well, except for the people who decided to take charge of the event this last summer.
Well, you know, we need to contact the Portland City Council and tell them you support the Hempstock Festival. We urge you out there to contact our Portland City Council and tell them you support our Portland Hempstock Festival. The city is saying that that we allowed illegal marijuana use at the Hempstock Festival, and that's just not true. We cracked down on it. They're telling a lot of lies in the Portland Police Bureau to try to stop us from having our Hempstock Festival again. So we urge you to contact the city and urge them to allow us to have our Hempstock Festival again this year. And so we'll be fighting for that.
Well, I found a group of lawyers that we should contact in California. I'll bring them to your attention, who would probably just love to sue the pants off the police department for what they did last summer and to help you recoup some of your losses. So that could be a lot of fun. Just saying, you know, we all have a hobby. Mine happens to be lawsuits now.
Have you ever filed a lawsuit?
No, but I'm going to make it my new hobby.
Okay. There's a lot of people like that out there. Okay. Well, we have another phone call. Welcome to the show, caller. Not that one.
Oh, it must have been a member of the police department.
Let's try
we
another
got
one.
your
we have
number.
Another caller, right?
All right.
Hello, caller. Are you there?
Yes, I am, as a matter of fact.
All right. Welcome
Good
to the
evening
show.
to you folks, and I want to say thank you for the good hard work and all the above that you people have done. And I appreciate the wave back. Okay, question is, okay, now we got marijuana legal for everybody, and it's not actually going to happen until over a year in itself. All right, what I've got, the question is, okay, we got these bars, we got these taverns, where people getting liquored up, this, that, and all the above. Now, are we going to have any kind of establishments, clubs, where people can go for a social smoke and just converge with other people, you know?
There's my living room.
Yeah, there will be. They won't start opening until 2016, but for now, it's only in a private location. So we'll have to see how the law develops, but I assure you that there will be places for people to consume cannabis in a private, adults-only atmosphere.
That sounds good. No, all the other states will wake up and smell the aroma.
I think
well, hey, there we go. Thanks for all the good work you people have done, and enjoy watching the show.
Okay, well,
and
thanks
I'm
for watching.
Pretty impressed looking at all those beautiful photographs you show, too, at the same time. So
All
keep
right.
up the good work, and thank you much.
You're very welcome. Thanks for watching. So we have another film clip. Let's pull that one up. Another view from a different channel on Liberation Day, last election day. And we're going to run that right now. Be back in just a second, so enjoy.
Oregon just voted to legalize pot last night, but if you've looked around lately, you know it already seems to be everywhere. And tonight we've learned that the storefronts that service medical marijuana patients now are hoping to cash in on this budding business.
750,000 Oregonians said yes to legal marijuana last night. So what happens next?
We have live team coverage looking at some of the issues this decision raises, like how this changes the conversation about drugs with our kids.
We start with Mark Hanrahan and a look at the business model. He joins us live in Northeast Portland. Mark?
Well, Joe, ballot measure 911 technically does not impact medical marijuana in Oregon. The ballot measure didn't touch it. But the owner of this dispensary here behind me and of another dispensary across town I spoke with, well, they're hoping the state will allow them to sell recreational pot in their stores too.
This right here is the Blackberry Kush. This is a indica hybrid.
At the health awareness group in Northwest Portland, Harvey Cummings shows off one of his more popular strains of medical marijuana. His dispensary just off Northwest 23rd is one of 70 approved to operate in Portland. Following last night's vote to approve Measure 91, Cummings is hoping to get in on the new recreational market.
Well, yes, I think that that is our hope. We still want to service the medical people. I mean, I think that's an important factor, but I think that having this infrastructure in place will make a smoother transition for this industry.
Across town at Shango Premium Cannabis, co-founder Sean McKee is hoping for the same, and the reason is simple.
Right now, everything's nonprofit, reimbursement, donations, growing for the patient. We really look forward to being a mainstream business that just has a product that anybody's able to buy.
Ideally, McKee and Cummings would like to be able to sell recreational and medical pot in their respective stores. They add their dispensaries are already regulated by the state, their product is tested, and they have security measures in place. But the decision is not up to them.
It's a huge job and a huge responsibility.
Rob Patridge is the chair of the Oregon Liquor Control Commission. The agency now has until January 2016 to implement the new industry and decide who gets retail licenses.
Whether we can have kind of a medical marijuana store and a recreational store is still out.
This has always been a good one.
Rules that Harvey Cummings says he and other dispensary owners are anxiously waiting for.
You know, I think that all the dispensary owners, or a good majority, is very focused on this market.
The OLCC says they're not wasting any time. In fact, they met on this very issue today. Next, they say they'll travel the state to talk to all the interested parties before they make any decisions. Now back to you.
Mark, thank you. There are a lot of questions about how legal marijuana will work in Oregon. Here are some of the key points you need to know. The law does not take effect until July 1st of 2015. So that means possessing marijuana is still illegal until that date. After July 1st, individuals can have up to 8 ounces of pot in their homes. Don't expect stores to open next year, however. As Mark mentioned, the Oregon Liquor Control Commission has until the beginning of 2016 to come up with regulations, and we will likely see stores open sometime after that.
Now the new reality for Oregon legalized marijuana. Before we see it in stores, the work begins on making it work. And those already in the pot business say they want a piece of the pie. Mark Hanran has our hot story.
Technically, ballot measure 91 does not impact medical marijuana here in Oregon. The measure doesn't touch it, but the owner of this dispensary behind me and of another dispensary I talked with across town, well, they hope the state will allow them to sell recreational pot in their stores too.
This right here is the Blackberry Kush. This is a indica hybrid.
At the health awareness group in Northwest Portland, Harvey Cummings shows off one of his more popular strains of medical marijuana. His dispensary just off Northwest 23rd is one of 70 approved to operate in Portland. Following last night's vote to approve Measure 91, Cummings is hoping to get in on the new recreational market.
Well, yes, I think that that is our hope. We still want to service the medical people. I mean, I think that's an important factor, but I think that having this infrastructure in place will make a smoother transition for this industry.
Across town at Shango Premium Cannabis, co-founder Sean McKee is hoping for the same, and the reason is simple.
Right now, everything's nonprofit reimbursement, donations, growing for the patient. We really look forward to being a mainstream business that just has a product that anybody's able to buy.
Ideally, McKee and Cummings would like to be able to sell recreational and medical pot in their respective stores. They add their dispensaries are already regulated by the state. Their product is tested.
Okay, so Section 84 of the new law says it goes into effect on December 5th. The media has this thing saying it's going into effect July 15th. There's some question about that. Technically, the law says it goes into effect in terms of marijuana being legal to possess and grow your own on December 5th. So there's that issue. I had a question from one of our patients saying if you have an event, you set up a tent for medical marijuana, is that legal? Maybe. That's not for certain at this point, but perhaps there are a lot of gray areas that will be straightened out over time as anytime a new law is implemented, often they come up with administrative rules that weren't addressed in the actual law. The legislature also has some latitude to be able to address that. And I had one local dispensary contact me and ask me to make an announcement, and it's a pretty cool announcement, so I will do that. The company called Nectar Cannabis will be giving away 10 pounds of free marijuana to medical patients who are United States veterans on Veterans Day. So if you are a veteran and you have documentation of that, you can go to this dispensary Nectar Cannabis on Veterans Day, and I think on Monday actually. And they'll be giving away free ounces to medical patients who can prove that they are veterans.
I got my DD-214 paperwork. I'm on my way, baby.
I just gave you 24 ounces,
Free
Casper.
marijuana.
You don't need
is
any
free
more.
marijuana.
I mean, I gave you 24 ounces. Why would you go take the ounce away from somebody?
Oh, it's like chocolate
I gave you
money.
4 different kinds.
It's like chocolate money. You can't have too much marijuana. Oh,
right.
my
well,
God.
You have to give it away for free to other medical marijuana patients.
Fine. All right.
Don't take it out of the hands of somebody who needs it when you have plenty, Casper.
All right. Give the address again.
It's on Sandy Boulevard. That much I can say. They're on Sandy Boulevard at about 28th or 30th or something like that. And they're giving away 160 ounces to the first 160 carded veterans who come in and visit. And
I'll give them my phone number. They don't get 160 veterans, and they can call me, and I'll come down.
Okay.
But isn't it nice to watch on the news programs about what to do with the marijuana now that we're growing it and selling it and smoking it, instead of watching news items about how we've arrested and incarcerated?
Hallelujah.
Isn't that much
a happy
nicer?
Day.
Yeah.
Well, again, we're coming down to just less than 3 minutes left. So I'm happy to say I'm excited. I've been invited to go to Chile, to go to expoweed.cl. So on November 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, we're flying my wife and I down to Santiago, Chile.
And you go party,
and
right?
Give a little talk about cannabis. And if you want to find out more about that, go to expoweed.cl. Then I haven't ever been farther south than a Mexico border town into Latin America, but the following month I'll go down to Montevideo, Uruguay, where marijuana was legalized, and they had the Expo Cannabis thing. So I'll go to South America twice before the end of the year. You can find out more about that at expocannabis.uy.
Take your dancing
Montevideo.
shoes. Take your dancing shoes.
I'm not a dancer. That sounds scary to me. But I'll be down there definitely looking around, and I'll give a little talk about cannabis as well, as our viewers know I can do. You want to give a plug for your radio shows?
I do. We got a thing called the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network, where we have a group of people who get together every week and produce programming about how important it is to end prohibition. And we're heard all around the world, and we're found live 24/7 at timeforhemp.com, Tumblr, SoundCloud, and of course, iHeartRadio. Tune us in and let the whole world know that it really is time for hemp.
I want to thank you folks for watching. We're going to go out on another great song by Mr. John Cornette. Tune in next week and help us restore hemp. Good night.